Hey, kia ora from beautiful Aotearoa, New Zealand. That is to say, hello from beautiful New Zealand. I'm a career break guy, taking a quick break from my career tonight to talk about Black Powder and Brimstone, a new game by Benjamin Tobbit and published by Free League. Apparently just came out a couple of days ago, but my friendly local game store has actually had it in for a couple of weeks, so I managed to pick up a copy. What I'll be doing today is I'll be doing a review of the book and the product, and then I'll also try playing it. I haven't played it before, I've just read it through. As I said, I've had it for a couple of weeks, so I had a good read, but I've just got the PDF today, so I thought I'll put it in. Right, so really quick, if you're just tuning in going, don't want to listen to a long thing, is it good or bad? It's good. That's the shortest review. It's great. It's probably, from reading it, the second best Morkborg game after Pirate Borg, of which I am a huge fan of Pirate Borg. Yep, this is the next best one. There is a bit more to the review, but if that's all you wanted, have a great rest of your day. Go out and find the book, enjoy playing it. I'm certainly going to as soon as I can get my group organized. Alright, so the review itself. I'm actually going to start off with what I don't like. Flipping on its head a little bit, but that's because it's short. The problem I have with this book, and if you've googled it at all, you would have found out it is pretty rife with spelling and other grammatical and editing errors. The copy that I picked up, I don't know if this is going to come on camera, that's a first printing, and there is just, if you get a copy and it's a first printing, you're in for a nightmare of a treat. Thankfully the PDF, which as I said I got a copy of today, has updated a lot of the issues, but there's still some there. If you are a very details person or detail-oriented person, this might bug you, but honestly push through that little aspect, because onto the positives, everything else about the game. The book, look, I've got the cover more or less up on screen now. In fact, I wonder if I can. Boom. Here is the PDF itself. This art, as I understand, Benjamin Tobbit is the author and the artist, and similar to Limithron, who did Pirate Borg. But I love the style. It's throughout. I found a lot of the Borg books overwhelming, and that might be your thing. This one, on the other hand, I think is just so beautifully laid out. As we scroll through, you've got your 2-page inside cover rules, which is so classically Borg. Really, it's just roll a d20, add a modifier, which is plus or minus 3, and see if you get a 12, generally. And that's about all the rules you really need. Yeah, look at this art. This is just gorgeous. Also, I've got a lot of interest in like the 1600s, and this is kind of based on early to mid 1600s Germany. There was a big religious war going on. This is from university where I did history. Yeah, see, so it's not as over the top and outrageous like some kind of psychedelic spew that a lot of the other Borg books are. And apologies for my pronunciation on that. I think this one's just got a really beautiful aesthetic. Pictures in the back, even just these little doodles, and then it's legible. The font doesn't change every 2 words. And that might be your thing, but if you're more like me and you just want to be able to take it in a bit more, this is the one for you. Oh, that was quick. So as I say, the setting itself is a pseudo historical. You've got these different religious factions which are set up against each other. Unfortunately, it's also released demons into the world. And you just play as some kind of miscreant in this, potentially even leading your own company of mercenaries at some point. Because of that, it's got your basic Borg rules. But it includes a whole bunch of other ones, things like mounted combat and chases, which I thought were great. The magic is done a little differently, and I like it as well. Similar to the time, sure you can do magic. My honors thesis was on magic and psychology, so I'm not going to get too far into it, but in this, you can do magic, and that's great, but it's not like, haha, I fireballed someone and you're dead. Yeah, you might do your fireball, but also then the Inquisition's going to come after you. So if you can do magic, you try not to. The system, I think it reads really easy to pick up, as in all these books. And again, even if you just take the core rules and then skin it yourself and take these little extra bits and pieces, like the chases just look so simple. And I think when I try this in a moment, I'm going to run the chase as well. I'm just going to shoehorn it in just because I want to try it. As I say, haven't managed to get my group together yet to run it, so I'll just do a little solo session. This has all the usual good things that you'd find in a Borg book other than the basic rules. So you've got a bunch of random starting classes of sorts. This one is a little more structured than other games. So, you know, think of Pirate Borg and you'll get your various classes, your swashbuckler and your sentient animals and what have you. Whereas this one, for instance, you can have a witch as your class, but then it breaks it down into a woods witch or a herbalist or a heron, and then so it's just a little. It's not just one per class, or like the regular Borg with a fanged berserker. But it does have all the other little bits and pieces, the random tables, which I really appreciate. So little things like once you've made your character, you can roll for character traits, you know, what characters want, setbacks, additional skills that you get to add a +2 to, which is quite useful. Passions, notable physical attributes. He's actually put in a section around GMing, just things like idea, crafting a story, you know, looking after player knowledge versus character knowledge, which I think is interesting. And the idea of yes and no but. But also, again, well, this is what I love, especially as someone who does a bit of solo play. It has a lot of generators, like adventure generator. You can roll up a villain. They are like, it's got a d6 table. So villain generator, they are a powerful bishop and they want treasures returned, and they secretly desire revenge. You can just roll that up quickly. Or hey, you receive a task from a sarcastic talking skull who offers you a reward of a jolly good time if you protect a fort. You know, that's just random tables, d20 tables. Anything. Personally, I'm trying to get into a stage where I prepare less. I just put players into a game and then I just want to follow what they want. So to be able to roll randomly on the fly based on their whims, I really love anything that supports that. One of the reasons I love Pirate Borg, from opening it the first time to playing a game was almost no time, and you know, my party of sentient chicken and a ex-reverend just had a bit of a swashbucklingly good time. I am going to bring that screen back up though, because I was just flicking through and some of the art, I'm just going to skip really, you know what, I'm going to close this for a minute. I don't want you reading all of the PDF, you know, go out and buy it, or buy the book, have a copy. It's so gorgeous. It's even if you never play it, it'll look amazing on a shelf and you'll just be a joy to read. Look at this art. So you've got your Puritans, they're one of the religious factions, the Orthodox Church, witch hunters and Inquisition, and then some ghouls, as I say. Demons get released, cults, things in the woods. It's like Pirate Borg. You can pick it up and you open it to any page and stories just start flowing at you, and I love it. So yes, the longer review, to summarize, and thanks for anyone that stuck around for this longer version. Editing is pretty painful at times. Spelling errors, bad grammar. There's one box on a page where I feel like they're meant to have a picture, but it also kind of looks like they're just framing the background image. So it kind of works in that regards, but I really do think they were meant to put something in there. So that's bad, but the product itself is worth it. It's got all the tables you need, the rules are simple, the setting is great, the art is really evocative, and it expands on the more basic Morkborg rules, not overloading it. This isn't Pathfinder or anything like that, but it gives you a lot more tools that you can play with on the fly. So yeah, worth a look. So I thought I would try to play it, and I'm not sure how this is going to work. It's not actually in Alchemy yet. This is actually just I've got the Morkborg pack for Alchemy, which is not even a system that I use that often. I usually play on Foundry. But you know what? Because it's compatible, and you know what? You could use the solitary defilement rules if you wanted to play solo, and I would probably do that if not for the fact I'm going to try and run the game as it is out of the book. So anyway, you can see down the side here, I've actually rolled some dice already because I didn't know how long it would take, so I made up a character, and I just rolled this guy randomly. The only thing I chose is that I wanted to be an adventurer. So I've got Hans. His random stats weren't that great. -1 presence, 0 agility, -2 strength, 0 toughness. The adventurer is more of a agility class, so you know what? End of the day, that's not so bad. And here's the random rolls. 1, Hans was a random name. He's smouldering, he wants peace, but he's unfortunately cowardly. He's got +2 to any rolls pertaining to sailing. He's got a passion for weapons. Notable physical features is he's demure. So immediately from that, you know, I've got this feeling. And again, these aren't quite as interesting or out there as the Pirate Borg ones. You know, as I say, the sentient chicken was an alcoholic, ex-cockfighter, like for cockfighting. And then the Reverend had absconded with a relic, which was then possessed him periodically and tried to kill him whenever it did. So, you know, that really makes a character come to life. But, you know, from here I can see this guy who seems like he was some kind of swashbuckling type character, regardless of the picture. That's just, I grabbed the art because I thought it was cool. So a swashbuckler, he went out and he just saw a bunch of exotic weapons along the coast. For whatever reason, he's now come back to land and is trying to go make things work. He rolled up a bit of cash. I bought him a set of armor, but otherwise he just got a few bits of equipment, which don't appear to be visible there. Grappling hook and rope, a crossbow, 10 bolts, a broken compass, which doesn't show north, but it shows him the direction of the thing that he desires, which is fun. It's also useful for, you know, just making up some kind of story. It's got a sportsman's sword, which is I believe it's DR10 to disarm an opponent of their held weapon rather than inflict harm, which is quite cool. And that is Hans. So now let's roll up an adventure. So as I said, there was tables in that book. I've tried to roll, get some of them in here. So random adventure, it says that, we go. So we receive a task from an escaped sacrifice from a cult who offers 2d6 times 100 gold. Pardon me. So the escaped sacrifice wants us to smuggle a gang of thieves. Okay. However, another group is after your goal. Okay, so this person was part of a gang of thieves, makes me think. They were part of a gang of thieves. They were captured, were to be sacrificed by this cult, who is after the gang of thieves, like for the rest of them, to say they can sacrifice them. And for some reason they've come, or Hans has come across them, and they want Hans to help the rest of the thieves. And so they've managed to, I guess, the thieves, they've promised that if he can get the thieves to safety, even though this other group that's after your goal, which must be the cult, if I can get them away from the cult, then I imagine it's the gang of thieves will offer the 2d6 times 100. You know what, let's roll this up real quick. 700 gold. Really, it's maybe Hans is of more renown than I thought. Oh, there's one that I tried randomly rolling to see if it would work. So let's just write this down. Receive. Imagine being able to spell. Task from an escape. Sacrifice from a cult. Yes, that's right. I can't touch type. I look at the keys. I work with a lot of numbers, so I can do the number pad quite quickly, but not the rest of it. Reward of 700 gold if I can smuggle the gang away from the cult. Easy. So we'll save that. You know what? Do we want to know the name of the escaped cult member? Or the escaped person? Might as well. Where's this table gone? Inn names? It's even got names for inns if you want to go carousing. Alright. NPC generator. D20. What's in there? What was their name? 17. So it was Salida. Salida from the gang. I think it must be a small gang if they're worried about the cult. Well, I guess medium-sized. Let's say there's D8 people. Maybe fair. Oh, that's 10. D8 people. There are... Oh, okay, so there's still only... what if I can smuggle the remaining 2 gang members away from the cult? Oh, I wonder then if it's actually that they've already been captured. This is one of the joys of like rolling these things not in the moment of the game. You can plan this kind of stuff. Okay, so of the gang, there's 2 more. Salida has managed to sneak away, found Hans. Maybe Salida is, Hans was one of the first people Salida's met. It's a bit remote area, so they need to try and get back to this cult and rescue these 2 remaining people. And they've got a little stash. Maybe they had a job, just did a job when they got captured by the cult, and that's why they've got this money. And you know what? It comes to the point where your lives are more important than the cult. Sorry, lives are more important than the money. They're probably going to double-cross Hans at the end. Yes, I'll live with that. Now you can also roll a location. I think this is the one. Wow, okay, so that works out really well. Random roll. The location is in the City Watch HQ, where there's a site of a sacrificial altar. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Well, at least a sacrificial altar thing. Oh, okay, so I wonder, maybe the City Watch know, and they are sacrificing... Oh, okay, man, this is cool. Okay, so the City Watch are sacrificing prisoners. Or people... Yeah, the City Watch. Sacrificing prisoners under their HQ, so it must be in the jail or sub-jail, catacomb type things. Oh, that's cool. This may end out to just be a game that I run. Maybe this is a game that I run for people in the end. So we've got rewards, we've got a location. The complication was that there's another group after me, so the I guess the City Watch are trying to... I guess the complication is that the City Watch have them. So I need to break into the jail, and then I need to get them out again. Let's see what else we can do. We can roll... There's random tables for dungeons and rooms. Don't need those just at the moment. So what I think I'll do is I'm going to start off So Hans has had this conversation with Salida. Oh, that's gone. Sacrifice from a cult. Or Salida. So Hans has had the conversation with Salida, who says, hey, look, you know, the City Watch, they're taking prisoners and they're sacrificing them, and I managed to get away there, but, you know, I've still got 2 of my friends are there, and I need your help to get them out. You know, we'll pay you all this gold. And Hans will give it a whirl, because 700 gold is a heck of a lot of money. That would set him up for quite some time. They're not saying kill the cult. So Leader's just saying smuggle those 2 people out. So, yeah, so what he's going to have to do, he's going to have to find a way into the prison, or the jail, find these 2 people, who he gets a good description of from Salida, who passes on as much information as he can about the area underneath with the sacrificial altar. Needs to do that. Actually, I don't think I have any sound going. I don't need this. So he gets the description. He needs to break in, find those 2, and then break them out again. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to intermediaries, because like I said, they've got a chase mechanic, which I want to try. So I think that Hans has managed to nail down a lead that there is actually an alternate way into or out of the jail. I think Salida threw himself off a ledge into some water, stormwater drains and stuff, and managed to get swept out that way. Should have died, didn't manage to, thankfully. Hans, but it's like, oh, you can't go back that way, you know, the water's rushing, you'll never be able to fight the current. But Hans knows that there's rumor of someone who has escaped from there before, so he's going to find that person, and he's managed to track that person down. It's a marketplace in this town, and he's found this guy over at in the market, and he's moving through the crowds towards him. But this person has noticed him and decided that actually there's something up with this guy, Hans, and so he's started to take off. And Hans, you know, did just want to talk to him, but now seeing him take off, he's like, oh, okay, I've got to catch him. And so we're going to do a chase mechanic just because I want to try it. So let's get a tracker for Hans. Nope, don't want a tracker, sorry, that's not right. I want a token. You go here. Bandit. Why does it say bandit? Hans. And then we're going to add an NPC. I really should have made the name table one of the D20 things. A pre-rollable. But yes, this old escaped person, well, this ex-prisoner who managed to escape, still lives in town. His name is Alva. So let's make a token for Alva. The escapee. Yeah, that's all we really need. Didn't change your name at all. That's awkward. Maybe if I save it next time. Alva. Save. Awesome. Token. So what happens is you start rolling your agility. You just roll a D6 plus your agility, and whoever gets higher moves 2 squares, and then the other person moves 1 square. So I think Alva is a little wily, so he saw Hans a little further away, so I'm going to give him 2 squares just to make the chase a little harder before he took off. And so now Hans is chasing after him. So what we do is we'll roll a D6 for each. So far I'm Hans, so let's just roll a D6 plus my agility. Oh, it gets a 6, that's awesome. Play. And let's do a d6 for Alva. We're going to say Alva has no agility, so it's really just a raw dice. Cool, so the person who gets highest, which in this case was Hans, gets to move 2 squares. Alva gets to move 1 square, so we'll move him first. 1, 2. So as much as Alva started running, Hans just took off, pushing people out of the way. Get out of my way! Excuse me! Maybe there's a bit of clearer air. Alva was moving more into the throng of the people. Hans was more at the edge, which is probably why he got seen. And so now that Hans is closing him quite dramatically, like Alva looks back and he's a bit more fearful because now he's definitely sure this person's after him for some reason. Doesn't realize Hans is like, I just want to talk, wait up. But Alva's not having a bar of it, so he's actually going to start pulling over stalls and pushing people over to try and slow Hans down. And what that means is he just keeps rolling a d6, but Hans, who's chasing him, now has to roll d6 minus 1. So whilst we're here, let's roll for Alva, d6. Oh, that's awkward. That's as good as Hans will be able to do, if I'm lucky. Yep, so Alva got higher. He moves 2. Hans moves 1. Whee! And Hans is like, wait, I just want to talk. Alva, now that he's made a bit of room, he's not going to push again, so let's just roll straight dice. Oh, not great from you, Hans. Alva, what you got? Oh, Alva moves another 2. Hans moves 1. So Hans is seeing him take off, and maybe I think what it is as much as Alva was getting into the throng of the people when Hans was at the edge, pushing through. Alva's now come out the other side, so he's got that clear air. So he's making a break for it. Hans is still pushing his way through the crowd, but now that he's got a bit more space, he really does need to talk to Alva. And I know this isn't going to make friends with him, but what he's going to do is he's got a crossbow. And with that crossbow, he's actually going to try, and as Alva's like, yeah, I'm free, taking off at full trot, he is going to shoot at him, just to try and shoot him in the legs. So he's going to take a shot. It's a DR13 presence roll. And we'll give him a negative, give Alva a negative to his roll if he can do it. Presence 13 or higher. Oh, 18. Awesome. So Hans is like, I just want to talk, as he pulls out his crossbow and fires a bit past the crowd now, so the crowd's not going to notice this. Fires a cheeky shot, which just kind of like skims past Alva's leg, tripping him a bit. He wasn't trying to kill him, don't worry. So now we might as well roll the d6 for Hans. I'll roll a d6, but it'll be at -1. Oh, I feel like Hans is going to win this round, because Alva can't. He moves 1, he moves 2. You know what, let's do one more round. Alva, I'm going to say, not exactly rules as written, but I'm going to give him -1 again. Just to wrap up this chase scene. They're kind of in the back alleys now. Even if it didn't have -1, it's still likely to go Hans's way. Yeah, so he took off down the side alley, which is why Hans managed to like shoot him in the leg without drawing too much attention. Hans is just taking off after him. D6 pounding down this corridor. You know, Alva's limping slightly. And as such, it's near enough for narrative purposes. That chase has gone on long enough. Hans manages to catch up to him. And he's even going to try and knock him over, actually. There is an attack for a shove or tackle. Should have had this just handy. Wicked wounds. Nope. You've got wounds in this as well, so you know you can maybe lose a nose or an eye or things like that. Shoving do a strength DR12 to shove someone prone. So Hans, it's not exactly super tough, but can he? 11, no. So I think what happens is he shoves Alva. Alva doesn't go prone, but he gets close enough that he kind of like grabs his shirt, spins him, hits a wall, and Hans is like, "Just stop! I want to talk." It's like, "Who are you? What do you want from me? I didn't do anything." And Hans is like, "Yeah, look." He explains enough of the situation that he is trying to. He's like, "I need to get into the city watch underneath into the jail." And yeah, Alva's going to give him some lip about how, oh, well, you know, if you want to get into jail, then yeah, attacking innocent civilians is a great way of going about it. He's like, "I just called the watch on you now." To which Hans points out that, well, you're an escaped criminal. I don't think you do want to call the watch on me. And Alva has a moment to, okay, so he maybe knows a bit more about me. And he's like, "Yeah, I need to get in without them knowing. And I know you've done it." I'm going to try rolling a presence to see whether he can sweet talk Alva a bit, explain the situation, and convince Alva that, you know what, he's actually on his side. So this standard roll, looking for target number 12, fails miserably. Alva still hasn't admitted that he's a criminal, protesting, and he's like, "Look, I don't know what you're talking about. I got nothing to do with this. I've never even been to the jail." And yeah, you know what, not Alva. You know what? He's trying to be cool about it. He's like, look, I've got no problem with you. I got no beef with you. I'll let you be on your way. I just need to get in. I'm never going to tell anyone how I figured this out. It's the secret safe is with me. You'll never see me again. And in that moment, because he's still trying to be a good guy, so he's kind of cowardly, although smoldering, his attention lapses momentarily, and I think Alva's going to pull a pistol on him. He's managed to have a flintlock, a little pistol, which he pulls. And so let's roll up a combat situation, I guess. We'll do it's a presence test for initiative. See, in Morkball, you kind of do a d6 and you go, if it's 1 to 3, it's one side. If it's 4 to 6, it's the other side. But this one, it says, roll a d6 plus agility to determine combat order. So let's just roll a d6 for Hans to see whether he notices before Alva. You know what, let's just do the d6 for Alva here. Or does Alva get the jump on him? Alva absolutely gets a jump on him. That's awkward. So Alva whips out this pistol and fires it, even as it's coming up. Hans, so if you weren't familiar, Morkborg is all player-facing rolls, which I love. So the idea is if you're in combat, you roll to hit the NPC, and then when it's the NPC's turn to attack, you roll to dodge the NPC, because if you don't move, someone will hit you, and the NPC is definitely moving. So what we're going to do is he's going to defend. He's going to roll his agility to try and get out of the way of this. DR12 to dodge. Okay, so the pistol comes up, and it's sloppy, and even though he was momentarily distracted, Hans still has the presence the agility to kind of maneuver himself out of the way. Maybe Hans is also a little bit frantic. Pistol goes off. Hans manages to dodge it, and he smoothly draws his sword, which we discussed earlier. DR10 roll to see whether he can disarm someone. So he's going to try and disarm him. If he rolls a 10 or higher, no. So he slashes at, the pistol's coming up, and he is moving to the side and drawing his sword. The pistol goes off, but his sword manages to knock the edge of it, so the bullet goes wide, but at the same time moves him around so that he doesn't manage to disarm the guy either. Pistols, when they're fired, or any black powder weapon, you have to reload them the next turn. So right now, Alva's sitting there. That was his shot, literally. And, combat's over. Hans just levels the sword and said, I need in. You're going to help me? And just leaves it hanging, with his sword pointing directly at Alva. And Alva, I think, is going to get the idea that, actually, you know what, I prefer to be alive than keep this secret. And so he explains about how there's actually a well not too far from the City Watch. And if you go down, there is a small period where you have to swim, but then it actually comes into a network of tunnels which back onto a patch, and then there's some bricks that you can move down in the tunnels, and you can actually get into the jail cells, into one of the areas near the cells. And so Hans explains, you know what, I'm never going to see you again, you're never going to see me again, we're done, but I'm taking a pistol. And so, yeah, he's just going to steal Alva's pistol, which I arbitrarily gave him. GM Fiat. Equipment. Add item. Create item. Black powder pistol. We'll put it here with, we'll say D6 shots. So let's roll a d6. How much black powder do you have on them? 3 shots. This is not much more used to Foundry, I have to admit. Right, add item. Pistol with 3 shots. And a small bag of small skin of black powder. Great. With that, Hans is like, right, get out of my sight. And he also, he cocks him with the end of the sword, and then runs away. He is going to wait until night. He's got his few bits of equipment. He's got his grapple line and whatnot. He's going to sneak in. Hopefully, by waiting until tonight, the other 2 robbers are still going to be alive. I guess we'll find out. So lo and behold, night comes. He finds the well just as described. And at this point, he hopes, man, I really hope that Alva was telling me the truth, because it's going to be really awkward if I get down there and there's nothing. So what he does is he knows he's got his grapple hook if he wants to get back out of the well. But right now, to get into the well, it's going to be just as easy to lower the bucket down with the rope and slide down that. The night is cool. There's it's quiet here. He waits until, there's guards on patrol, but he waits until those ones leave before sneaking over to the well, peering down. Can't quite see the water, but, it's dark. As he lowers the bucket, he hears it splash not too far off. Wraps up all of his gear in some skins and shimmies down this rope into the cold water. Taking a deep breath, plunges under, feels his way down until he feels this gap. And lo and behold, there is a gap as described by Alva. Actually, you know what? The first time he goes down, he doesn't feel it, and he's down there and feels his lungs begin to burn. He pulls back and he's like, God damn it, I'm going to kill that guy. Pardon my language. He's like, okay, let's try again. Goes back down, feeling around, and this time he finds the gap in the wall. Goes back up, knows where it is this time, orientates himself. Deep breaths. Plunges back into the black water. Pulls himself through this gap, clawing with his hands along this tunnel until, lo and behold, he can see that it's slightly discolored further ahead. It's not so inky black, as though somewhere there's a light source, which is shedding just the faintest bit of light. And he pulls himself towards it and breaks the surface in a small cave of sorts. Not a big sizable cave, it's no bad cave. Big enough for a couple of people. And ahead he can see that there is the outlines of a wall, and through some of the cracks in the brickwork, that's where the light's been coming through. Just faintest sliver of light, and it dances slightly in the firelight. So he's going to go in and he's going to have a listen and see if he can hear anything. And you know what? Let's give a presence check. Does he hear anything? 14. So 14, more than a 12, which is the goal for doing something which is difficult. So I'm going to say that he listens, and at this time he doesn't hear anything, which is because there isn't anything. If he had failed, then, you know, maybe he didn't hear anything, but there was. But I'm going to say that, lo and behold, there's nothing. And so he's just going to start itching away and pulling out some of these stones. And eventually he gets a hole big enough to pull himself through, and he puts the stones back in place and really hopes that this time no one's going to remember where this is. And he winds his way through this network of corridors. And truth be told, there's actually a random table for corridors. So let's have a look. You know what? The first corridor, or the corridors it carries over, the first room that it opens up into. So I've got a table here which is an aspect for the room, and then a unique aspect. So let's just roll 2d20 and see what it suggests he finds in this first room after the corridor. So he's moving forward, and it's a shadowy room that he enters with, is that a 10? Oh, great. So it's a torture chamber. In this, what it is there's a couple of wall sconces with torches. And the reason it's so shadowy is there's all these hanging cages and various, there's a rack and an Iron Maiden. This might not be correct to the time, I forget exactly, but yeah, so there's racks and Iron Maidens and cages and various utensils on the wall. At this moment it's empty, but yeah, the fire of the torches dances and makes shadows splay against the wall, writhing in agony like the people that would have made them had they been there. And he thinks to himself whether Sildar mentioned... Sildar? Wait, isn't Sildar from Lost Mines of Findalva or something? Anyway, he tries to remember if Sildar mentioned anything about the torture chamber. In fact, Alva did. So he knows that from here to get to the cells is... you actually have to backtrack slightly in the other direction. He's going to sneak along. And he's stealthy. He has got some light armor on, and a leather jerkin, which is a bit drippy weight at the moment. Just something to offer a bit of protection, but it's not, like this grenadier here in full plate, for instance, or even this plate in the picture. So he's sneaking along, but in this next room, which, you know what, let's roll up this room as well, 2d20. We're not quite at the cells yet. Oh, maybe we are at the cells. Let's see what the 2d20 says. Stop second guessing the game, career break guy. So this room, 6 and 17, this is a flooded room with a statue stained with blood. Okay, so this must be close to the sacrificial room. Salida mentioned how people were, as part of the sacrifice, their blood was collected and then it was put on various statues throughout the building, or throughout the tunnel network, the jail, the catacombs, if you will. And this particular one of a cowled figure with a sword held down, like the old Templar things, where the soldiers standing with the sword, holding the pommel and pointed towards the ground, a big hood over the top, large cloak, but this thing is drenched in blood. The Watcher, whoever they're worshipping, or for whatever reason that they're sacrificing people, this statue is one of the ones that they seem to hold in some reverence, where they're making this offering of blood. And again, this time, this is one that Salida had mentioned. I think, though, that at this point, we're going to hear that there's a couple of people. You know what? Let's just say there's one or two. Yeah. So Hans hears footsteps coming. So he is going to. It's not really anywhere to hide. I'm going to take. It's not flooded with water. What it is the blood that's been poured over the statue has just pooled all over the ground. So it's not flooded in that respect. It's just it's a very bloody mess, really. So there's not really anywhere to hide in here except immediately behind the statue, and I guess just on the edges where you come through the tunnel, and the walls on either side into this in the square room. So he's actually just going to push himself right up to against the wall. So as people are coming down this corridor, they're going to walk into the room, and he's just going to be hiding as best as he can against the wall. As long as they're not looking to the side, hopefully it'll buy him a moment, and he's just going to pistol and sword, because there's not really anywhere to go in this room. And lo and behold, and he hears talking, these two people chatting away. Low murmurings. And into the room, two people, again, they're also wearing cowls over their head, deep red, fairly symbolic and representative, or not dissimilar to the statue in that regards, although that one is red covered in blood, and their one is just red itself. And he is going to, I guess, just fire the black powder pistol at the first one. I'm going to give him a surprise round. Now, to shoot a weapon is a Presence DR12. Presence is not his strongest suit, but let's hope for 12. No. So he's got the pistol aimed at the side. This person walks through, and he pulls the trigger. And you know what it is? There's that kind of wet click as he realizes, crap, the powder got wet when I went into the into the well. And so these two people turn now because they heard the clunk. And we're going to break into combat. So let's do a d6 for Hans. He had his round of surprise. So plus his agility of 0, so he is probably going to die now. And these two people, 1 and 3. Oh, 1 and 2, sorry. So, alright, the first person, he's some kind of guard or cultist. We've got stats for people here. Bestiary, page 140 something. As I said, I set up some of these tables, but I didn't set up lots of these tables. I just thought I'd run it kind of as we went. Rules for bandits, mutants. Ooh, maybe one of them's a mutant. That'd be fun. Is there no guards? You know what? We're just going to say that. Oh, 137 is cult. Maybe a cultist. Okay, so what it is, we've got one cultist, and unbeknownst to Hans, until now, one person which is somewhat mutated. So you know what? On a 1, it's the first person that's the mutant. On a 2, it's the person who's on the same turn as Hans. 1. Alright, so this person is the mutant. He makes a click, and it must be the closest one who spins around, and you can see his face is actually... looks like it's half melted. It's sloping down. It's just like it's trying to escape his face, like melted wax. And he lashes out at Hans. So Hans has to make a DR12 agility, although I suddenly realized that... Oh, I see, he's got a desire to pay off all his debts to a dangerous criminal. That was another random thing I rolled. So that is why he was so happy to take that 700. I feel like there was a thing that said adventurers get a bonus to... doing any acrobatics gain +2. Oh, and agility tests are DR10. That's kind of cool. So he's actually showing enemies. Sorry, just reading the rules. Melee combat, distance. Oh, there was actually rules for talking to people as well properly, so probably could have used those. Alright, so he is going to roll his agility to try and not get hit. So he actually needs to roll a 10, which is great. Watch him not do it. Yep, 1, he fumbles. On a 1, on defense, PC takes double damage and his armor is reduced by 1 tier. So this guy just lashes out. I think maybe what it is part of his mutation. He's got some claw of sorts. What page did I say that was? 140 something. And this claw hits Hans right just above the top of his armor, hits him in the neck effectively. Oh, that's right, he was a not a cultist, a mutant. Mutant? The damage is D4, so D4 times 2. This might actually just kill him. So we'll just double whatever this number is. 8! Right, so Hans has got 5 HP. 8 is too much. So, this game has Devil's Luck, which is the same term that they have in Pirate Borg. I believe it is a different name under Mork Borg, although for some reason I can't remember what it is just this moment. What is, you can spend these. You can spend them at any time to do a range of things. You can do maximum damage, you can neutralize a crit or fumble, you can reroll any roll you or another player makes, or you can ignore all damage dealt to you. So what he's going to do is he's going to spend 1 Devil's Luck to ignore all the damage that was meant to be dealt to him. But the cool thing about this is when you use your Devil's Luck, you roll a d6, and on a 1, you gain a mutation, because you're making a deal with the devil of sorts. Do we get a 1? No, 2. So, some twist of fate at just the last moment, Hans moves, and this mutant's claws rake across the armor. I'm going to say that it still goes down 1 armor level, which is annoying, because now it's useless. It only did 1 armor level anyway. But at least he's not instantly dead. Now he and the other person are going to go at the same time, so he's going to start by just stabbing this mutant, who I kind of feel like is the... Oh no, you know what? Let's stab the cult member. So to do a melee attack is a strength DR12. 15 does hit. And now his sword does... It's probably something like D4, D6. In the the place where you actually see it, it just says that you can disarm people easier. It doesn't actually say how much damage it does. So let's just find a sword. Sword. D6 damage. Oh, and +2 to all melee defense rolls when equipped. That's convenient. If he parries. Alright, so D6 damage. Big numbers. Into this cultist. 4. The cultist has 5 HP, but you know what, I'm just going to say that's enough. So he dodges out of the way at the last minute of the scraping thing, and at the same time, like, slashes out past the mutant who also moves, but he still catches the other guy in the throat. So he's like, starts gurgling, goes down. We're going to let the mutant roll again, and by that I mean we're going to have Hans roll to avoid the shot again. Again, he misses, but thankfully this time the mutant doesn't actually crit him. That would have been really awkward. It does D4 damage. Three damage to poor Hans. 1, 2, 3. In which case Hans is going to retaliate with his sword. Again, looking for 15 will do it for D6 damage. This mutant has 3 HP. But you know what, for the sake of argument. Yeah, so he has dodged it, stabbed the guy in the neck. The mutant takes the opportunity to slash at his arm, but he brings back his sword and slashes it across its weeping face, throwing back a hood to show that, you know, it's a hairless, like, skin like a raisin, really. Although sloping down, its head is the skin's just far too heavy and calloused. But anyway, slashes it through the head, and the creature falls down as well. He takes a moment just to patch that up. This game has, what did they call it? It's bastard rules. And with that, you can do things. One where you flip a coin when a boss attacks you, and the player has to guess the result, and if you guess wrong, you take a wound. Another one is every time you see someone die or see something grisly, you roll effectively for sanity. And then the one that made me think of this is you have a thing stricken by infection, where unless treated by a healer's kit or professional surgeon, all wounds are treated as infected after a day. So I'm not going to do that, but it is certainly something that Hans will need to look after. So he's patching it up, but it mechanically has no bearing as to helping him heal or anything. Now, I believe I also saw that you heal slightly after combat, or I've been reading a lot of games recently. Just want to make sure whether that's this one or another one. Rest and repair. No, combat, advanced combat, gripping, stunning, stealth, health, shoving, armor. No, I must have been reading a different one. Anyway, rest and repair. Later on, you can take a short rest with food and water, and he'll get some health back. But he's not doing that just at this moment. So at the moment, he's taking a couple of 3 damage. But he's going to carry on, and he eventually comes into a room. And what does this room look like? There's cages in this one, but also, what else can we say about this room? So I got to roll 16 and 19. So warm and dry, with rats scattering to their holes, which is fun. But there's also a dungeon table, and if we look at that one, it's not entirely useful. I think, you know, what happens if I switch those numbers around, 19 and 16? Because you know what, you can do this. So 16, we could say, or 19 and 16, water drips from above. And there's wooden crates sporting a strange crest. Okay, so what it is, we've reached the jail cell. And he sees all these people, and there is this crest with wooden chest with this strange crest, and there's a few of them. And water drips from above because, as you know, you crawl through the well. There's a aqueducty line somewhere. It must pass over here that this water's coming through. And he's looking through these cells, and there's a number of people. Some weakly look up at him. I think most are largely resigned to their fate. Some come to the bars to see who he is. They don't recognize him. And he's searching through the faces until he finds these two. And when he does, they don't regard him. These two bandits. But he's like, hey, Salida, not Sildar, sent me. I'm here to free you. And they don't necessarily believe him, but he explains it a bit further, and he's like, all right, just need to get this door open. What he does, he's actually still got that horn of the 3 shots of black powder, as much as the one in the pistol. He really shouldn't have fired quick. Anyway, so he's going to pour some of the black powder into the lock, and just like strike a spark, blow that through. And he's like, okay, we've got to. That's probably going to attract some attention, so we've got to hustle. He leads them back through, and lo and behold, they see this cultist. The cultist had a knife, so they're just going to grab the knife. He's like, we've got to go. They can hear footsteps coming. He gets to the wall, cracks it down. There might not actually be time to put this back up, so he's like, we got to go. We're going to dive under. I'm going to come out the other side. And I think, you know what, he's going to hear a halt. And in this moment, he's going to turn and face this guy. And it is just one person. And he's like, he passes the grapple hook. And he's like, that better be there when I come through. I'll be right with you. And I think what it is this person is that's a cool looking baddie. Is there some kind of... Oh, you know what? Let's just use the bandit chief template. NPC create. We're going to call this the jailer, who has D4 armor. Uh-oh. And Trackers has... Oh, omens, that's what they called in Merkburg. Alright. Token. So Hans and the jailer face off. Alva, you're not necessary anymore. Alva, go home. Right, so let's just roll a d6 for both of them. Hans, you've got nothing on your agility, so it's a straight d6 roll. And then the jailer, d6. What's your initiative? Hans, can you please speed up? Because you're going to die. This guy's going to kill you, and you're on roll to 2. The jailer pulls out a... he's got a sword as well. Shink! Pulls out the sword. He's wearing a bit more armor. And he is going to lunge at poor Hans. Play. Which means Hans has to make his agility to dodge this. Hans, why? Okay, so doesn't matter what the damage is. Hans is going to spend another Devil's Luck to negate all that damage. Oh, I just saw myself slide across the screen. Auto-centering on the camera. And let's roll a d6 to see if this has any kind of mutation for Hans. No. So he can feel just like shivers and tingling down all of his limbs as he jerks out of the way of the sword. Brings his sword up just in time to catch the edge of it. I could do that one more time. This is going to be awkward. And in return, he's going to use that momentum to spin and try and strike at the hand of this jailer to try and make him drop his sword. So let's roll his agility 10. Hans! Man, just like, please. He strikes at the hand, but the jailer has got gloves on and just kind of like spins his hand enough that it glances off the armor. In return, trying to strike Hans again. Oop, not presence. Sorry, disregard that. That's not a thing. Hans has to jump out of the way with his agility. Does get struck with a d6 of damage. 4. I've got to spend that devil's luck, otherwise he's going to go down. And Hans is going to reply with his own strike again. You know what? No, he's not. He's going to actually just try to... No, he's going to try and take the weapon out of his hand. Excellent. So this time, noticing that when he tried to do a slice, the guy managed to bend his hand. After taking this hit, maybe that's why he took this, made a feint, if you will. So the guy thought the jailer thought he had hit, but it really just put Hans in a position where he could see the jailer's hand, and instead of slashing this time, he stabs with uncanny precision into the glove of the palm of this jailer's hand, and yelling out, he drops the sword. You know what, the jailer is going to try and just knock Han prone. Rather than picking up his sword, he's just going to try and tackle him. So as we said before, that's a strength 12. But in this case, again, Hans just needs to jump out of the way. Otherwise, he's going to get knocked prone. Which, of course, he does. So now he's on his back. Prone. When you are prone... That's a different part of the book. Prone. I really should note of these. So when a PC or NPC is knocked to the ground and prone, you do not get a roll to avoid being hit, only an armor roll if applicable. So he's in danger. But what he's going to do is he's going to, when he lands, he's going to kind of back roll a bit, use his turn to get up, and at this time he's also going to pull and fire the... Oh no, actually he's just going to fire from the ground, fire the black powder pistol at this guy. Missing again, of course. And I just realized that there is also a roll that you're meant to do when you fire a black powder weapon to make sure it doesn't explode. So I should probably do that. So this would be his last shot anyway. Every time you roll a black powder weapon, roll a d8. On a 2 it misfires, on a 1 it explodes. That's a 10, d8. That's a 2. Okay, so what happens is it misfires. Black powder misfire table. I feel like there was a table for that. Black powder misfire. Black powder misfire? No, I guess it just goes bung. So again, click. As much as he replaced the powder, maybe the part of the weapon was still wet. Well, there wasn't enough powder. So yeah, the jailer is going to pick up his sword now and advance on Hans. And Hans is, he doesn't get to fall to avoid, but he's also not going to surrender. So the jailer's going to swing his sword, and Hans is going to hope that it's just a... no. So yeah, he sits there, and he prepares himself to spring out to the side like he did with some of these other things, and then like try and deliver a post with his sword. But unfortunately, this time he is just not fast enough, and so catches the blade in his shoulder, and it pins him. And you know, the pain just flashes through his body, and his vision starts to fade. So because his health has gone down to 0, he's now broken, and he needs to roll to effectively not die. So the rule is, at 0 or negative HP, roll toughness DR12. If you succeed, you're broken, otherwise you're dead. So let's roll toughness. DR12. Wow, he really succeeds. So he's broken. Roll a d6. 6. Bleeding out. Death in d6 minutes unless treated. All tests are DR16 until you are treated. Yeah, so unfortunately for old Hans, you know, everything starts to go dark. He feels distantly the sword being pulled from his shoulder, and the last thing he sees is the jailer sheathing his sword, reaching over and beginning to pick him up. And that's an unfortunate end for old Hans. He managed to do the job, but he didn't get the gold. Everyone else had managed to realise that your life is worth more than the gold, but he should have just sacrificed one of the thieves. Lessons learned. Anyway, the point is that the rules are easy enough to follow. Even making up a game on the spot, not my finest moment. I'm a bit out of practice, but easy. There was tables there. Make it work. You can adapt things, you know, making a bandit leader into a jailer. I'm really looking forward to running this with a group, and I've actually got an idea where I'm going to run a few different games, and this will be one of them. And I hope to be able to share that with you later. But in the meantime, again, recap. Editing, not great. Spelling, not great. However, book is totally worth it. Art's gorgeous, setting's great, the rules expand on Morkborg, and as I say, it is my second favourite, I think the second best Morkborg product after Pirate Borg, and that's a really high bar, so there's no issue being second to that. Alright, well thanks for joining me for that. We won't do a part 2 of Hans because he's gone, but yeah, ka kite.